Well, Wednesday.
Hello, darlings. So, this week's topic is narcissism and androgyny and the mustache. Mustache, by the way. I'm taking part in Movember, which is a charity organisation, which I believe was founded here in Australia. You pretty much wear a mustache. You grow a mustache for the month of Movember, and people sponsor you for your mustache. Australia has the weirdest charity. Anyhow, so I'm doing Movember. The money goes towards the Prostate Cancer Council Foundation of Australia, I believe. It's some combination of those words, as well as Beyond Blue, which is Australia's premier mental health organisation. And the aim of Movember is by sort of, raise money for those foundations, as well as sort of raise awareness for these things, because prostate cancer kills as many people as breast cancer does. But it's 1/10 as well funded, because breasts are considered glamorous. As well as that, men are nowhere near as likely to seek the proper medical help they need with their depressions as women are. There's a massive gap there. That's why I love Movember. Also, I've always wanted a mustache, and look at me now. Look at this. Look at this. I was so right. I'm rocking this. This is awesome. Anyhow, so this week's topic is narcissism and androgyny, which is a bit weird for me, because, God, I feel like I'm coming from this from the outside in. Like, it's not in the bits of the androgynous community that I've attended, but I think I know the narcissism they're talking about, which is, by the way, narcissism. I googled Narcissus before this. I read the Wikipedia page. It was the guy who, narcissism, which is falling in love with self, which is named after the ancient Greek tale of Narcissus, who fell in love with his reflection in the mirror and then died. Sorry, reflection in a river and then died. There's 3 different versions of how he died. He either drowned himself, trying to, because he fell in love with his reflection in the river, or he just simply never left the river and starved to death, or he killed himself because he couldn't be with his great love, which he did not realize was him. As well as that, there is the narcissistic disorder, which is when you're in love with yourself to the point where it seriously impacts your life, which is not really what we're here to talk about. As well as that, there was, back in the late 1800s? Yeah, late 1800s, there was another disorder of excessive masturbation, named after Narcissus. So I skimmed through that Wikipedia article, and I stopped at the words excessive masturbation, and I googled for 5 minutes. But yeah, narcissism, I think I know what they mean, which is sort of that very in love with yourself feeling, which I've seen, but I wouldn't really call it true narcissism. I think I see, because, there's this thing, especially not for me, because I was born female, and when I was a teenager, I wasn't a particularly attractive female. I thought that all I needed to be happy was to be pretty, and then people would love me, and then I'd finally love myself, and then I'd be happy. And so that was when I thought that I had to be pretty. But then I grew into my body, and then people started to find me pretty, and then I discovered that wasn't what I wanted. Not at all, not by any stretch of the imagination. But I know with a lot of the M to Fs, being pretty is part of their value system, and what it's something they want, is something they strive for. And then when you finally start to have that, I feel like, oh God, when they finally start to have that, when people finally start to tell them they're pretty, you finally get that thing which you've always wanted, you're going to want to defend it, and you're going to want to stress it, and you're going to want to put it out there, and you're going to want reassurance that you have this thing, that you are pretty, because it's something you've had before. There's no abundance of being called pretty. There is a scarcity of being called pretty, and you want to protect that. As well as that, there's this competing to be the prettiest, and you have to be the prettiest or the fiercest or the most passing. When you're afraid that somebody's going to tell you that you're not blank enough, what you do is you tend to beat them to the punch and tell them first that they're not blank enough, they're not pretty enough, they're not women enough, they're not blah 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 enough, they're not this enough, they're not that enough. But that's all, I feel like that's all just, it's all fear that you won't be enough. So what you do is you beat to the punch, and you start this whole telling other people they're not pretty enough, telling other people they're not woman enough, etc. to count, they don't count, you don't pass, you don't count, you don't want to pass, you don't count, you don't, etc. So I think that's where the behaviour, which does closely mirror narcissism, but I wouldn't call it narcissism, I'd just call it flat out insecurity. Sorry to say. I feel like that's where a lot of this behavior is coming from. But saying that, I'm very aware that what I'm doing right now is I'm just mansplaining this, because it's not something I feel in myself. Like, I've felt for a while that I wouldn't count as trans because I've been out once or twice as a dude and I sort of passed, but there was this uncomfortable feeling that I was too plain. And then after I did that once or twice, I was like, well, clearly I can't be trans then, because I wasn't man enough to be willing to be plain. And then sort of, you know, eventually figuring out that gender's a lot more complicated than that. What your gender identity is and what you look like don't always, like what you put effort into looking like, don't always mirror up. But yeah, I'm so off topic now. So on the narcissism in the androgynous community, I just embrace it. It's nothing you can do, it's not gonna go away. When you find something new for the first time and you think you're good at it, you're gonna want to be the best at it, which means that you're gonna obsess about it. And when that thing that is aesthetic, you're gonna obsess about your aesthetics. You're gonna obsess about how you look. That's fine. It's new, you're just coming to it, you're just learning to it, you're gonna obsess on it. Embrace it. It's not going away. It's been around since the dawn of time. And at the same time, like, I mean, embrace it as a thing. But if you don't feel that's a thing that you need, then just don't do the thing. And if people start telling you you should do the thing or you don't count, just ignore them. They don't matter. You do you. You do you fabulously. You are doing you fabulously. You are doing you more fabulously than anybody has ever done you before. I hope that I'm making sense. Alright, as for the ladies of the week, you all were fabulous, and your Halloween stories were fabulous. I mean, oh God, we all had so many issues. I think we're all running Windows Movie Maker 2, which is where everything falls down. If you want simple jump cuts, it can do that. But if you want anything more complex than jump cuts, then God bless you. Many hopes. But yeah. Good luck. Rouge, you're like the thing from last year. Like, oh God, it was brilliant. I loved it. It was amazing. I mean, I feel like, because we're only just starting up, we'll do better next year. We will do so much better next year when we're more prepared and we've got more history and we've got more practice doing this. We will do so much better next year because we will know what to expect. But Rouge, your story from last year, like the little movie thing, was just fabulous beyond words. And just, oh God. You write dialogue good. I can't write dialogue. And Nate, ask me anytime during the day whether or not I believe in ghosts, and I will say no. But as soon as it gets dark out, I'm like, no. No, I don't believe in ghosts until shit starts fucking up in my house that I can't explain. And Della, your movie was just, it was so beautiful and just lovely, and like, oh God. Like, I mean, I did read through what you said that it meant, and then it all sort of made sense from there, but even without it, even without you telling us what it meant, it still went along that theme, you know what I mean? I mean, without the description, it still had all those feelings in it, and it still sort of, yeah, and then got the description, and then you said, yes, that's definitely the plot. So, and just pretty, just super pretty. Yeah. So, fabulous work done there. You're all brilliant.